Good evening there, everybody. What is happening? Hopefully, you all are having a wonderful day today. So, I thought that I would talk about this Vasyl Lomachenko versus Nakatani fight. I'm not going to say his first name because I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce it and I don't want to butcher it when it comes down to it. So, I just thought that would be the respectful thing to do. But when it comes down to it overall, the Lomachenko versus Nakatani fight, I believe, happens this weekend. I'm actually somewhat excited about this fight. I'm always excited to see Vasyl Lomachenko fight. I think even with Vasyl Lomachenko's recent loss to Teofimo Lopez, I still think you can argue that he's one of the top fighters in the world. Clearly, is still an A-class fighter. Lomachenko, in my opinion, has always been an A-class fighter ever since he has kind of gone up in his career a little bit. And Lomachenko, in my opinion, before his recent loss to Teofimo Lopez, I had him as the number one pound for pound fighter because I thought that he was beating very, very good competition, at least in a certain amount of his fights. He looked like the most skilled fighter in the world. He, at one point in time, was looking like the most dominant fighter in the world. And when it came down to it, he was a three-weight division champion within less than 20 fights. But that loss to Teofimo Lopez really just brought a lot of that down when it came down to it. And Lomachenko, I was favoring him against Teofimo Lopez, but he just really did not do enough against Teofimo Lopez to win that fight. And that's why it's going to be interesting to see what he does in this fight against Nakatani. Now, some people think that Lomachenko didn't throw that much in the Teofimo Lopez fight because of a shoulder injury. And Lomachenko has had shoulder injuries in the past, but I didn't hear anything about a shoulder injury before the fight. Now, maybe he heard it during the fight. I don't know. But when it comes down to it, if you heard it during the fight, it must have been during the second half of the fight because you weren't throwing anything in the first 6 rounds. So it is what it is. Vasyl Lomachenko, in my opinion, he just lost fair and square. It is what it is, and he's got to get over that. He's got to try to come back. If he can get a rematch with Teofimo Lopez, that'd be fantastic, and then we'll see overall who can win that one. Because in my opinion, Vasyl Lomachenko, even though he wouldn't be the favorite in a rematch against Teofimo Lopez, he probably would have a chance of defeating him. But he has to be offensive. He can't just stare at Teofimo Lopez for the whole entire time for the first half of the fight. Because that's exactly why he lost that fight against Teofimo Lopez. He did nothing but stare at him for the first entire 6 rounds. You can't do that and expect to win a fight. It is what it is. And some of the latter rounds, were kind of they could go either way. So Vasyl Lomachenko can't be mad at anyone but himself because of why he lost that Teofimo Lopez match. But either way, we're going to see Vasyl Lomachenko come back in this fight against Nakatani, and this is a very interesting fight because Nakatani, he's not an A-grade boxer when it comes down to it. He's not an A-class fighter. He's not an A-grade skilled fighter. But when it comes down to it, he is a very dangerous fighter. He's kind of a under-the-radar dangerous fighter. He's very tough. He can take a lot of damage. He's never been stopped in his career, even though I think he has 1 or 2 losses on his record. I think actually he may only have the one to Teofimo Lopez, but if I'm wrong about that, then someone correct me. He's also recently coming off of a win over Felix Verdejo, who unfortunately kind of ended up being, if we want to put it bluntly, a little bit of a hype job. But Felix Verdejo overall, he still was decently talented. You're talking about a kid that had a decent amount of power and decent boxing ability. And Nakatani, he was able to survive early scares early on in that fight where he was able to get hurt multiple times, I believe. He came back and he was just so persistent when it came down to it and relentless that he was just able to hurt Felix Verdejo eventually, catch him right on the chin, and eventually just knocked him out a little bit later on and pulled off the upset against Felix Verdejo. So this fight that Vasyl Lomachenko is in, I think it's a great fight that he's in. I think that this is a fantastic matchup for Vasyl Lomachenko because this isn't a guy who obviously is an A-class boxer, but this is going to tell us, does Vasyl Lomachenko stand a chance against the elite of 135-pounders, against these elite, caliber of 135-pounders? Because the way that he looked against Teofimo Lopez, that guy, he will not beat any of the elite 135-pounders. Vasyl Lomachenko, if you were facing anyone at 130 or overall any of those lower weight classes, I would bet Lomachenko to beat every single one of those guys. Doesn't matter who it is. Doesn't matter if it's Shakur Stevenson. Doesn't matter if it's Oscar Valdez, Leo Santa Cruz. Doesn't matter if it's any of those guys. But when we talk about the elite 135 pounders, I'm not sure if Lomachenko can beat those guys. And the size just may be a little bit too big for him. But with you at one point in time being ranked as the number one pound for pound fighter, you have to try to find a way around that. You have to try to find a way overall to surpass that if you're supposed to be that great. And that's just the bottom line. All right. If you are used to be debatably the number one pound for pound fighter, you're supposed to find a way to still defeat Teofimo Lopez when it comes down to it. That's just the bottom line. And this fight is really going to tell us where Lomachenko still belongs in boxing. Does he still belong at 135, or is he eventually going to have to move down? We'll have to see what happens, because 135 just might be a little bit too big for him. I think obviously that he's an A-grade skilled boxer, but when it comes down to it, he may not be able to compete with him, because Lomachenko is really not that big of a guy. Lomachenko is a guy overall that probably is about a natural 130 pounder. And on top of that, he doesn't really have a very long reach. He has like a 65-inch reach. So when it comes down to it, he is going to have to get on the inside a lot. He is going to have to pressure certain opponents. And that just may not work with certain opponents. Devin Haney, who has a decently long reach overall and is decently skilled, it may not work with him. Teofimo Lopez, who has A+ power overall and is bigger in size than Lomachenko, that may not work with him. Gervonta Tank Davis, who is an excellent skilled boxer, maybe it could work with Gervonta just because you're around, similar, size dimensions when it comes down to it in terms of reach and in terms of height, I guess, when it comes down. Well, Lomachenko obviously is taller than him, but when it comes down to it, maybe it can work with Gervonta. But Gervonta, he's another guy overall that's very skilled and, very powerful and for that 135-pound division. So once again, I need to see how good Lomachenko looks in this fight to really see, does he have a chance against these future 135 pounders? Because if I see a Lomachenko that struggles a lot in this fight, if I see a Lomachenko overall, that is just having a very, very hard time with Nakatani, because Nakatani, he does have decent power. He's relentless. He doesn't get hurt that often when it comes down to it. If I see a Lomachenko that struggles a lot in this fight, in my opinion, he might as well just move back down to 130, because he's not beating any one of those elite 135 pounders if he struggles against Nakatani, in my opinion. And a certain amount of people may disagree. But if you're not going to be able to handle Nakatani's power very well, and some of his size and some of his reach, I don't know how well he's going to handle a Devin Haney. I don't know how well he's going to handle a Gervonta Tank Davis. I don't know how well he's going to handle a Teofimo Lopez in a rematch. So we'll see what happens. I need to see Lomachenko be offensive in this fight. I need to see him do something in this fight. I need to see him be very impressive in this fight. And if he is very impressive in this fight, then I would say this Lomachenko has a chance of defeating anyone at the 135-pound division. But it all depends on how he looks. We need to see something very, very impressive out of Lomachenko in this fight. That's what we need to see. So we'll see what happens. Lomachenko apparently said that he's going for the knockout in this fight, or said that he overall will knock out Nakatani. And I would be very impressed if that happened, because no one has been able to stop Nakatani. Not Felix Verdejo, not Teofimo Lopez. So if Lomachenko came back with the bang, and if he ended up beating Nakatani with a knockout, that would be a fantastic, that would be absolutely fantastic when it comes down to it. That would really show me that Lomachenko is ready, and that maybe he's ready for a Teofimo Lopez rematch. Maybe he's ready for one of these other big guys at the 135-pound division. That's what that would show me. So Lomachenko, it all depends on how he looks when it comes down to it. We'll see what happens. I'm predicting Lomachenko to win this fight by unanimous decision. If a knockout did happen, I would be very thoroughly impressed, because Lomachenko, he does have a great power. Don't get it wrong. He is a very decent puncher, and Lomachenko can hurt you, but Nakatani can hurt you as well. And I don't think Lomachenko has a weak chin or anything. I don't think overall that he can take any damage when it comes down to it. But it's very obvious that he doesn't like getting hit at this 135-pound division. And in certain fights, it has cost him on the offensive end, because he's not comfortable always throwing in certain situations. So we'll see what happens. I need to see a Lomachenko that looks very sharp in this fight. I need to see a Lomachenko overall that's not afraid to get hit here and there. I need to see a Lomachenko overall that just looks very much improved from that last fight that I seen him in. So we'll see what happens. But anyways, that's really about it for this. I predict Lomachenko is going to win this fight by unanimous decision. Nakatani, he could make things interesting, but I am going to go with Lomachenko by decision. That's my opinion on this matter. That's my prediction. We'll see what happens. Thank you all so much for watching. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll talk to you all later.